Grace and peace to you. Friends, it's not raining. I've managed to get outside to record this week. I've somehow lost my glasses, but I've got outside. Amidst the rain of the last week, how are you? Are you tired? I am. To be honest, I'm not just tired, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted by the news, the rinse and repeat of horrific COVID news cycles that somehow simultaneously offer too much and too little hope. I'm exhausted by lockdown. I want to break free into the world and hug people with reckless abandon. I have a new family member. I've seen pictures of them and I've seen videos, and I've met them once in person from a safe distance, but I'm exhausted at not being able to hug them. I'm exhausted because I'm still dealing with the viral hangover following my month-long COVID infection. The infection that was clear over 2 months ago, but still leaves me with chest pain and occasional breathing difficulties, and so much tiredness that I could fall asleep anywhere and at any point, except in bed in the middle of the night when sleeping should be happening. Moreover, I'm sad that genuine news fatigue and completely understandable lockdown fatigue will mean that some rules are broken and people are putting themselves and others at risk of post-viral fatigue, or maybe something worse. This is all really hard, and genuinely hard things are exhausting. Over the last 4 weeks, or 5 if you include today, we've been dealing with a pretty hard series within the lectionary cycle. The challenges that come through this part of Matthew's Gospel are not to be ignored, but to engage with them is hard work. And as we said, hard things are exhausting. Jesus does not sugarcoat things through these readings, making it clear that to look to God and to follow him is a costly and foolish endeavour based in love for all people that will reward you in ways that you could never imagine. And that is where we are coming to today. In our reading, Jesus is saying, yes, all of this is hard, but when it's hard, when you are exhausted, come to me and rest. So let's hear those words now.
Today's reading is from Matthew chapter 11, verse 16 to 19 and 25 to 30. To what can I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the pipe for you and you did not dance. We sang a dirge for you and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he is a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say he is a friend of a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by their deeds. Verse 25, the Father revealed in the Son. At that time Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned, and revealed them to little children. Yes, for this is what we are pleased to do. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and you will learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Amen. These are the words of the Lord.
Thank you, Brian. Jesus recognizes that life is hard. He speaks of not being able to win. Damned for not eating or drinking. Damned for eating and drinking. He speaks of his relationship with God the Father and illuminates both his divinity to those who are listening and to those of us who hear some 2,000 years later. Jesus talks about the weight and difficulty in following other teachers, but that while submitting to his yoke is easy, the journey with him will be hard. Leith Fisher, as he explores the Gospel of Matthew in his book, But I Say to You, writes of this, saying, "The promise of a kindly yoke remains for all who have ears to hear. After so many tough words about discipleship, it is good to hear them. The road is not easy. Jesus would have those who would follow him suffer no illusions, but the road is with him. And on the way, weary disciples will find the rest they need, and more than mere rest, the encouragement, enlightenment, love and laughter that comes from the company of the one who has taken the way of gentle lowliness to lift the disciple high and put a spring in his step for the road ahead. Jesus, fully divine but crucially fully human, as he walked this earth, knew what it was to be tired and exhausted, worn out by the cost of doing God's will, and worn out by life in general. The cost that Jesus speaks of cannot be covered by bank transfer, and it's not about a set of rules with ritual obligations to follow each and every day. So the yoke is light. But the cost is high. The cost is paid in love. Loving people it's hard to love. Speaking up alongside those it is easy to ignore, or that many wish would just go away. The cost of discipleship is giving of yourself in ways that are ultimately exhausting. But crucially, Jesus is saying that rest can be found in God. The recharging of self to allow work to continue is found in him. The daily rest and the recovery for the burned out are found in time with God. No set amount of money and no set of rules will win your rest. For you are already loved by God, and all that's asked of you is to do the difficult and costly and somewhat exhausting job of loving others in return. When I was seconded from the NHS to the Scottish Government some 10 or more years ago, I remember sitting at my desk in the corner of the basement of St Andrew's House in Edinburgh, and I was both physically and spiritually exhausted. At that moment, life was too much. Work was too much. I hadn't taken time to rest. And a friend walked over and slipped a piece of paper onto my desk and walked away. To this day, that small piece of paper still sits on my desk, and it's the following quote from Made for Goodness by Mpo and Desmond Tutu. "Don't struggle and strive so, my child. There is no race to complete, no point to prove, no obstacle to conquer for you to gain my love. I have already given it to you. I loved you before creation drew its first breath. I dreamed you as I molded Adam from the mud. I saw you wet from the womb, and I loved you then. If you want to sing this week, I suggest the hymn I Heard a Voice of Jesus Say, number 540 in CH4, is a good hymn to sing. And as ever, there's a link to that and some more music, which can be found in the description. This week, as you think and reflect on this passage, ask yourself about when you have known rest. Think about when you have been exhausted by life and what has brought you rest. Or if you are currently tired and exhausted, what could bring you rest now and how you could do that. Do not be afraid to ask others for help. Reach out to God in prayer and reach out to those around you to ask for help or to offer help in ways that brought you rest before. And as you pray this week, ask for your own rest, for rest that starts with a good night's sleep, but grows into a rest that recovers the soul and fills you to the brim and allows you to overflow with love. Pray that others might know that too, and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you in what you might do to facilitate that. And as you think and sing and pray, as you go about life this week, know the blessing of God, who offers you a place to rest.